Hi children, welcome to our science class. Hope all of you are doing well. Today is our portion, second chapter. We are continuing acids, bases and salts. Today's topic is more about salt. We are going to see the different types of salt. So in your textbook, an activity is given, family of salt. Write the formula of the salt. And you have to find out which is acid and which is a base used for that. So first one example, it is written potassium sulfate. So the formula is K2SO4. And this salt is formed by the combination of an acid, that is sulfuric acid, and a base, potassium hydroxide. We have already studied that a salt is formed by a neutralization reaction of an acid with a base. The next example, sodium sulfate. Sodium sulfate, the formula is Na2SO4. Here also the acid used is sulfuric acid and the base is sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide, the formula is NaOH. And the next is calcium sulfate. Formula CaSO4. Here also the acid used is sulfuric acid and the base calcium hydroxide. Then magnesium sulfate. The formula is MgSO4 and the acid used is sulfuric acid and magnesium hydroxide. The correct formula is MgOH. So like that, here a lot of names of salt is written and the formula is written, and also the acid, which is acid and which is a base used for the production. So this formula, you have to study the formula of the salt and you should know which acid and which bases are used. The next activity in your textbook, that is 2.14 activity in page number 29, you have to find out the pH of the salt. The pH of the salt we can find out using the universal indicator, that pH paper, and we can check what are the colors formed on the pH paper. So sodium chloride, when we are checking, take a little sodium chloride, add a little water and dissolve it properly and take 1 or 2 drop and dip in that drops in the pH paper. So the color developed is the usual color of the pH paper, and from that color we can understand that it is a neutral solution. So if it is neutral, we know that pH value is 7. And the acid, here also it is written which is acid and which is a base used. So once again, sodium chloride, acid is used, hydrochloric acid. It is a strong acid. And base used is sodium hydroxide, that also a strong base. Then next, potassium nitrate. Potassium nitrate, here we are checking the pH paper. You can see that also neutral with pH value 7. So here the acid is nitric acid and the base used potassium hydroxide. Here also acid and base both are very strong. Strong acid and strong base. And next, the salt is aluminum chloride. Aluminum chloride, when we are checking, we can see that the color is between orange and yellow. That color is developing, that we know that the pH value is between 2 and 3. That is, if the pH value is less than 7, then we have already studied it will be an acidic salt. So we will check what is the base and what is acid used. Here the acid used is hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. Like sulfuric acid, nitric acid, all these acids are very strong. And see the base we are using, the base is aluminum hydroxide. Aluminum hydroxide is a weak base. So what we have seen here, when a strong acid is combining with a weak base, the salt formed is acidic. Check the nature of the salt, it is acidic. Why it becomes acidic? Because the acid is more strong than the base. So in such cases, the salt formed will be acidic. And the next example also, zinc sulfate. That also acidic. See, which is acid used here? It is sulfuric acid. and that is a strong acid, and base used is zinc hydroxide, that is a weak base. And another example, copper sulfate, that also acidic, because the reason is that acid is more stronger than base. So in all these examples we have seen that when one strong acid is combined with a strong base, the salt formed is neutral. Strong acid combined with a strong base, the product will be neutral. The salt is neutral. Then second case, strong acid combined with a weak base, then the product will be acidic. Then the third category is that if the acid is weak and the base is strong, in such cases, I'll tell you one example, the sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, these bases are very strong. If these bases are combining with the carbonic acid, carbonic acid is a weak acid that we are using in soda water, and acetic acid or vinegar, that acetic acid is a weak acid. So if sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide react to the weak acids like carbonic acid or acetic acid, in such cases the salt formed will be basic, because here base is more stronger than the acid. So these are the three types of salt formed. There will be neutral salt, acidic salt, and there will be basic salt. Basic salt example I have written in the next page. See, now we are going to see the definition for neutral salt, acidic salt, and basic salt. We will read what is neutral salt. The salt of a strong acid and a strong base are neutral with the pH value 7. That you understand, the strong acid combined with a strong base. Or in another option is that if a weak acid combined with a weak base, in such case also the salt formed will be neutral. Either the combination strong acid with a strong base or weak acid with the weak base. In both these cases the salt formed will be neutral and the pH value will be 7. And what do you mean by acidic salt? The salt of a strong acid and weak base are acidic salt with the pH value less than 7. So if the pH value is less than 7, it will be acidic. Then we will see what is basic salt. Salt of a strong base and weak acid are basic in nature with the pH value more than 7. So pH scale we have studied. Above 7 it is basic. Alkaline nature is increasing 7 to 14. So if the base is more strong than the acid used, the formed salt will be basic. Here we will see some of the examples. Combination of strong acid and strong base. So that is the example one you have written. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base combining with the hydrochloric acid. Then we get the product sodium chloride or common salt, and other product is water in all the neutralization reactions. So that is a neutral salt. Then one example for acidic salt. So strong acid, hydrochloric acid is strong, and ammonium hydroxide, NH4OH, it is ammonium hydroxide, it is a weak base. So both are combining, so acid is more strong than base. So the formed ammonium chloride is an acidic salt. And the next third case, basic salt. Weak acid is combining with a strong base. So here weak acid, CH3COH, which is acid. Yes, acetic acid. Acetic acid is combining with a strong base, sodium hydroxide, and the product is sodium acetate. That is an example for the basic salt, because sodium hydroxide is more stronger than the acid. So it is a sodium acetate is a basic salt. Then the fourth condition, I have already told that when a strong acid combined with a strong base, the product will be neutral. It is this case also weak acid is combining with a weak base. Example, acetic acid is combining with ammonium hydroxide. So here also ammonium acetate is formed, that also a neutral salt. So we have seen the three types of salt: acidic salt, neutral salt, and the basic salt. So next is the chemicals produced from common salt. So common salt, that is common salt means sodium chloride, that we have already seen how it is formed. That is by the combination of hydrochloric acid with the sodium hydroxide. So the product sodium chloride and water. So this sodium chloride formed is an important raw material for sodium hydroxide, baking soda, washing soda and bleaching powder. So the sodium chloride is a raw material for the production of all these things. So we know that sodium chloride, how sodium chloride or common salt is extracted. That the sea is a vast source of a lot of minerals. So from the sea, we have in smaller classes we have studied water is collected from the sea, and it is collected in the small pits, in the shallow pits, and it is allowed to evaporate. So water will be evaporated, and what is left is salt. That salt will be in the form of rock salt. That means it will contain a lot of impurities, and it will be brown, sometimes brown maybe in color, and all the impurities are removed. Then after cleaning, we are getting the crystals of sodium chloride. So this sodium chloride is a raw material for a lot of another products. So first we are going to see how sodium hydroxide is produced from sodium chloride. So that process is also known as chlor-alkali process. So I tell you how it is produced. Sodium chloride is taken and it is mixed with water. So when sodium chloride is mixing with water, it is called, a name is there, that is brine. Sodium chloride aqueous solution is known as brine. So when electricity is passing through the aqueous solution of sodium chloride, it is decomposing into three products, that is sodium hydroxide, chlorine and hydrogen. So why the name is chlor-alkali process? Because due to the electrolysis of aqueous sodium chloride, the product is, one is chlorine. Chlorine is collected in the anode, and the other product is an alkali. The basis which is dissolving in water is known as alkali. So one product is chlorine and another product is alkali. So it is known as chlor-alkali process. And another product is hydrogen. So all the three products formed is very important. Hydrogen as a fuel, it is used as a margarine. So different uses are there, it is given. So hydrogen is collected from the cathode, and chlorine is collected from the anode, and sodium hydroxide is collected near the cathode. So it is collected as a solution. So that process is known as chlor-alkali process. So sodium chloride is a raw material for the production of all these things. That is sodium hydroxide, baking soda, washing soda and bleaching powder. So the production of sodium hydroxide is also known as chlor-alkali process. That is, when electricity is passed through aqueous solution of sodium chloride, it is decomposing into three products. One is sodium hydroxide, another is chlorine and another is hydrogen. Chlorine is used for the bleaching actions. So all the functions of all the three products also you have to study. So chlor-alkali process is an important one. So we will continue the next portions in the next class. Okay children, thank you.